Okay, so it's 11:01 and we'll start the meeting. Let's just introduce ourselves quickly. So
Mike Sicali, Town Hall Fleet.
Christine Treves, Recycling Committee.
Lydia Vivante.
Jane Shaw?
Jed Foley.
Hey, great. Thanks everybody. And we have a quorum. We will get started. So any announcements or to make? Town meeting is coming up Monday, April 27th. We have Yeah, come on. Sure, absolutely. There's a chair right there.
Do you have another agenda?
Yes.
Thank you.
And what's your name?
I'm Brett.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us today. We're just getting started.
I'm friends with Pete Lynch, who I think has been in contact
Oh,
with
yeah,
you guys.
definitely.
He is still in school, and you've asked if he asked me if I'd come and speak with you guys and
Very
listen and
good.
give an update.
Great.
Yeah,
And
we
can I
can-
have your last name, please?
For just it's Plugis.
P-L-U.
What's that?
We're filmed, so.
Cool.
There's food waste on the agenda, so we'll talk about it
Okay.
in a little bit.
Excellent.
So, Christine, do you want to give us an update on the plastic water bottle reduction warrant article? We approved that at the last meeting to bring it to town meeting.
Yes, we have filed it the following week, I think. So, and all of the signatures, we have about 20-some signatures have all been validated. So it will be going, I presume, before the select board at some point, so we'll just keep track of when they're going to be looking at it. And the major thing we need to start doing is figuring out how to build support for it. So will we get to that later, or is that now?
Yeah, why don't we do that now?
Okay.
One of the things we've done in the past is reached out to the Chamber of Commerce to make sure that they all know, and also anyone with a kind of retail business license,
Okay.
just to make sure that they're aware that it's coming down the pike. And
And we're calling it a reduction, we're not calling it a
It's
ban.
actually called, referred to as a ban, commercial water bottle ban. We use
You mean the article that uses the word ban?
Yes.
Yeah. Isn't that good?
Okay, well, it says reduction.
that's usually in our general bylaws. There's the plastic reduction, and then this would be an amendment to that. So it just kind of falls under that same category. Every time we've added something, we started with plastic bags, and then we did polystyrene, and then balloons, and they're all under the reduction bylaw.
Okay.
That's-
Create a drastic reduction.
It's a bit of a euphemism, but yeah.
It sounds a little softer than ban.
Right, that's what I was wondering if there's.
Yeah, so the language that we used was from, you were here at the last meeting? Maybe
Yes.
not. Oh, yeah, you were. So we used the Sustainable Practices
Right.
Organization, sort of universal, trying to get the same language everywhere on the Cape.
So this doesn't affect soft drinks in a plastic bottle?
Unfortunately, not this year. We're trying doing sort of an incremental, sort of one thing at a time. So the thing that we did get a lot of materials from Sustainable Practices, talking points, slideshows, cheat sheets, facts, rebuttals, all kinds of things,
Yeah.
and I'll forward that on to everybody. Do you think we should do some kind of, should we be sending a presentation or something out, or just going around to retail businesses and talking with them? Or
Well, we can reach a lot of them by email, because there's a lot of
Okay.
places that are closed that might be open later on.
Alrighty.
I don't know, I think, every way we can get the word out, I think, is good. And through Jean McLaughlin at Town Hall, she has the email addresses of businesses.
Okay.
Can you squeeze in there?
So does anybody, Lonnie,
Thanks for coming.
does anyone have any interest in working on any aspect of that?
I'm sure that we'll
Well,
get,
what would it entail? You mean going from...
Well, first of all, I guess we need to compose something that we can email out to retail businesses with some sort of talking points and suggestions for alternative products like the canned water. I don't know if we want to encourage the box water. It's not recyclable, but it's better than plastic.
Well, there's the aluminum can water.
Yeah, we can
And,
definitely promote that. I'm sure one of the issues is going to be volume of sales, people that don't have their bottles with them, blah, blah, blah. A couple other things I just noticed from looking at the sustainable practices is that they're organizing in many towns sort of a water commissioners or water board talk on the quality of the town water, how it's tested, and reiterating that it's very safe. So we probably should have information, maybe talk to conservation agent Hillary and get some information about having your water tested, or that kind of
Yeah,
things.
the town water's tested regularly. They have
Right,
reports.
and we have that information from last year, I think. Maybe we could get an update
Yeah.
on the
Are people required
city.
to test their well water? Are people required to test their well water?
Not required, no,
Oh.
but you can do it periodically. The town will do it for you. I can't remember if it costs something. There's a little kit you bring.
I think it's $45 if you do it with the county.
Oh, okay.
It's required at the time of the transfer, sale.
I see.
Okay. Do you think there'll be a PowerPoint presentation at town meeting, or is that something, yes, no? I mean, there'd be time to put that together. But not a
Right.
lot. I mean,
Yeah.
February's a short month, and then.
Yeah. Well, we can look at the one that Sustainable Practices
Oh,
has already done.
they've got one, okay.
Yeah. It's way too long, but we could at least
Yeah, clip.
use that as a starting point.
Right.
I'll talk to Hillary and just get information about having your own water tested. And she's not the person, who do we talk to for the current test results for town water? The water
That's
commissioner?
Hillary too. Yeah,
That's Hillary
They have
also?
that
Okay.
information there.
So town water report and well testing. And then I guess we ought to, maybe we should approach, well, we can put something in the newsletter free of charge for members of the chamber, introducing it for a start.
Yeah, that's a good idea, chamber. They also could send I don't know, if an email blast or something. And then bringing it up at Select Board meetings is a good way to publicize things too, because they'll be, it's televised as well. A lot of
Right.
people watch those meetings.
Okay, so at the
And-
next, anybody interested in doing that?
Not particularly.
If someone writes it, I'll
Yeah.
go.
Well, Nadavi, probably a 40-word blurb would be a good thing to develop, just so
Okay.
you can put that out there
Yeah.
pretty quickly. And
Okay, well, maybe we
at
can work on
meetings.
that together.
Sure. And there's also, the forum will do a pre-town meeting, and that's a good way to get the word out.
Right.
Maybe some of the larger businesses, going to them in person would be good. That's what we've done in the past when we've had all kinds of things, the pay-as-you-throw, the plastic bag ban, et cetera.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, because of our guest, maybe we should, do you want to stay through do you have time to stay through a meeting? Or
I
would you
like
like
this
to?
this number 2 here as well.
Okay.
I have some input on that as
All
well.
right, great.
Okay.
If you want to just go through that.
Yeah, maybe we should, how do you feel about that? Just going to number 2 and then the composting?
Okay.
And then we can
come
do
back
the
to
budget request, because that's kind of
Sounds good.
involved, a little involved?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll go to Earth Day. It's the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. Earth Day itself is always the same day, April 22nd. But there's going to be a weekend beach cleanup, either Saturday, April 18th, or Saturday, April 25th. And we received a request from members of the Shellfish Advisory Board and others, Wellfleet Conservation Trust, to participate in this, to co-sponsor the beach cleanup. So, those
So
dates,
is one a date and one a rain date or something, or?
they just haven't decided
Haven't
which one's
decided.
best. One it depends on the tides. They're
Yeah.
both low tide days.
One of those weekends is probably going to be Amnesty Day.
Oh, good to know.
They don't tell me exactly when. It's usually the third weekend,
Okay.
but that's national holiday in Wellfleet, so I'll try to find that out for you guys as soon as I can. But
Okay.
like I said, they usually wait until the last minute to set the date. Usually the third weekend. which would be the 18th.
All right, well, thanks for bringing that up.
Basically means we would help gather volunteers.
Yeah,
Okay.
So, do any of you know Grant Reed, who,
Yeah.
you know Grant? Over the past like 5 or 6 years, he was spearheading a bunch of beach cleanups on the ocean side.
Oh.
We would do probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 a summer. I bet he would want to get involved with this, and we could probably lend a hand. I mean, he already has a list. He would have people sign in, and he had a whole mailing list of
Oh,
people
good.
Ah,
that he would reach out to in anticipation for any of those sort of beach cleanups. So I might talk to. Would it be appropriate if I talk to him and
sure.
Absolutely.
see
Yeah,
if
we'd
he
love
wants
to
to get
have it.
involved with that?
Mm-hmm.
We always do Bayside, don't we? I mean, I'm just
Well,
thinking, when you
these-
said Oceanside, I'm thinking, why
Yeah.
don't we do that? But all the beach cleanups I've been on the Bayside.
They are usually on Bay.
Yeah.
I think maybe just because it's less
Usually-
mileage.
Or do we assume the seashore takes care of it? I don't know.
No, they don't. And there's a ton of
I've done some of those with
plastic.
Grant.
Oh man, they're fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes you find
Yeah.
unexploded bombs and
Oh my gosh.
balloons, and
Wow, yeah.
they get crazy.
Nobody did.
Well, maybe at the end of the meeting, or share your email address with us,
Okay.
and we can loop you into
Yeah,
all of
absolutely.
these emails and stuff. That, but should we just vote on it? Is there a motion to say yes to the
Yeah.
co-sponsoring?
I'll make a motion that we co-sponsor the beach
Second.
cleanup.
Great.
June
And
2nd.
June 2nd. All in favor? All right, that's approved, so we'll let them know that we'd love to participate. The National Park Service is involved too. There is some concern about the plover nesting sites, and that they will have some areas blocked off on the bayside, but we're going to work with them. And Barbara Bremisel is the one who's spearheading this effort, so
Excellent.
yeah. And so now we'll go to the composting. So there's been quite a lot of back and forth about the commercial composting, and right now there isn't a plan to offer that. It's a statewide priority to have commercial food waste separated from the waste stream, you know. But because we're on the outer Cape, it's difficult to have a location to accept the commercial food waste. Right now, what Wellfleet offers is residential food waste. It's going great.
Yeah, 5.63 tons last year.
Really.
I figured on 6.
Just from
And that's your first
Just,
year.
yeah, first year. Yep.
Oh,
And who's using that compost?
Well, it goes to the Watts farm.
Gotcha. Is that in Wellfleet or Sherwood?
Watts farm is in Sandwich. I think
Oh,
he has
okay.
a site in Carver that he does most of it on. I
Huh.
don't know that. We've never been there.
Cool.
But it's the same program that a lot of the other Cape towns use.
It's collected in wheeled carts at the Wellfleet transfer
Oh
station.
yeah, I've seen it there.
And then it goes to Dennis and consolidated, and then Watts picks it up from there from time to time.
Yep. And I mean, it worked shockingly well, I have to say.
Yeah.
Good.
Because he has some pretty strict rules on what he wants and doesn't want. But people
Okay.
seem to do well.
and what
with
was
it.
the tonnage you said?
Off the top of my head, it was 5.63.
And that was for a full year, starting
Yep.
from last December. Okay.
January 1st to December 31st.
So is it all food, or do you have to take out meat, or what?
Nope, meat bones, he'll take
Everything.
that.
And shells.
You won't take bags.
You won't take,
Bags. If you
Bats.
bag up, yeah. Don't take bats. No, we don't take any bats either.
or any mice or rats or
Something for if you
squirrels
want.
or anything.
Yeah.
And paper napkins, no paper, no compostable plastic stuff.
Yeah, it's just too much confusion with all that.
Right. So, and then there's also shell recycling, which does one need a sticker in order to bring that by? Or?
I mean,
Yeah.
I've never run into that before. I don't know why you would, 'cause
Yeah.
usually it's not very much per person.
Mhm.
And I mean, that bin that I have set aside for recycled shells, I empty that twice a year.
I
So
see.
there's not much from the residents.
Okay.
And then
And
what I
restaurants.
do have, sometimes it's got a lot of stuff in it.
Mm.
So I don't put it with the culch for the harbor because there's just too much trash in it. So I end up using it for the roads around the transfer station.
Oh, I see.
Pick the stuff out of it and I use that for the road base.
Right.
So, but there's just not much.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But that is something that restaurants can do, is separate out their shell and recycle it. Some already do, some have shell parking lots that they dump it in.
Right. I think as far as what I'm trying to get out of this. So I know Pete has reached out to a number of different people, both within the town and the state. I think his understanding, I kind of want to figure out what the appropriate like sequence of events would be in order for him to continue pushing that forward. I think that he's under the impression that a suggestion needs to come from this committee and then go to the DPW and then to the Health and Conservation, I believe, and then to the town administrator. So I guess I'm just wondering how we can kick that off.
And this is for commercial
Yeah.
food waste.
Yeah. I know one of the things that he brought up with me and probably in emails to this committee is that in the next few years there's going to be, I think there's going to be a limit on the amount of waste that restaurants can be throwing
A lot
out.
of towns already have it, yeah.
Yeah, half a ton per week. I think.
Yeah, and I mean, I know just, there's some big restaurants in town. There's, PJ's and Moby Dick's, and I'm sure that some of the restaurants are going to end up running into issues where they're going to have to pay fines based on all that.
Yeah, I don't know how about that myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just think that I think it's a good thing to start thinking about, because, any of the food waste is either being, or I think a lot of the food waste from the restaurants, they may not necessarily have the time to separate it all out. A lot of the restaurants are going towards the compostable straws, cups, plates, all that sort of stuff, but they don't really know necessarily what they should be doing with it.
Right.
Mike,
Yeah.
is that the way you understand it? You need someone to ask you to do it? Or
So, well,
If-
I mean,
if you
I
thought
think
you
we
could
went
do
down
it.
this road a couple of years ago,
Sure.
and it's a huge step to go from
Yeah,
composting in your backyard to
Right.
industrial composting.
right.
And you've got permitting to think about. You've got a site to find. You need the space.
Yeah,
You need equipment. You need staff. You're going to need.
But if you magically, if you got a grant and you had space, if you thought you could handle it, can you initiate that on your own, or do you?
I
need
can't
a
initiate that on
suggestion?
my own. No, I can just tell you the things I'm telling you now from what I know
Right.
from when we visited this before. Is it's a big leap
okay.
to go from what I do with leaves to what I do with drop off to either in vessel or rolling on the ground and composting. I mean, first of all, you need a water line.
Yeah,
That's huge money.
Yeah.
To get right now, we don't have that.
okay.
There's lots of hurdles. So I don't know. How do I put this? I don't really see it in the near future.
Okay.
But something to think about for sure.
Yeah.
And I think the more the state pushes with their regulations, maybe the more incentive,
Gotcha.
more types of grants that may be available in the future. Because
Do we have
this
a
all-
model though? Do we know where it works anyway?
What's that?
Do we have a good model that we could,
They did it on Martha's Vineyard, I believe.
did they? Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't know if you compared Martha's Vineyard to the entirety of Cape Cod. I mean, I don't think that there's a facility anywhere in Cape Cod right now.
Right.
So I think that, if the island of Martha's Vineyard could do it, I think somewhere on Cape Cod we could probably implement it. And I know that Pete has been in touch with, I think he's been in touch with the people who implemented that and pushed that through. He's been in touch with some people from the state just in terms of trying to figure out what size facility you would need to accommodate all of the food waste and compostable plastic alternatives. But I think he's again, just not really sure if he's going through the right channels or if there are more appropriate channels to be going through, whether it should be a Cape-wide thing that he's targeting or a Wellfleet thing, or, I'm kind of here looking for
Yeah.
suggestions on
Yeah.
what you think
Well,
the best way to go about it would be.
After we looked into it a few years ago, and it didn't seem like it was going to work, I think Elspeth was looking at a site
Yeah.
on Holmes Road in Eastham, and I don't know whatever happened with that.
That fell
Okay.
through.
It fell through. I don't know why that fell through.
I think Pete emailed her and hasn't heard back yet.
There's
Was
also.
she looking at that as like a private?
I mean, I think it was
Yeah.
an alternative because, like I said, the numbers just weren't there.
Right.
for us up here.
There is a farmer.
Do you have any idea how expensive it would be, or the size of the site, or anything like
Well,
that?
like I said, so you're making this leap to industrial, and especially if you want to do compostable plastics.
Right,
That's a whole. You need monitoring. You need the monitoring equipment. You need
Okay.
the water. You need the equipment to deal with the material. You need cover material.
Mm-hmm.
You need to find an end market for what you're going to do with the compost.
Yeah.
I mean, and these are nothing that may be impossible, but it's all questions that need
A couple
to get
small
answered
pieces
before
involved,
you
yeah.
before you spend hundreds of thousands of dollars
Right, yeah.
on, you know,
Well,
if you have the space,
Yeah.
you need a place to
Well,
put
the
it.
first thing is just like a feasibility study.
Right.
And that would be talking with DPW, and I think you're going to face everything that
Right,
Nick was
yeah.
talking about.
And Elspeth did that work, you know, she worked with, I think, someone from Recycle Works.
Okay.
When we
Yeah.
went to the
Consultant.
We
Needham,
just had a call with them yesterday.
Uh-huh,
the Needham facility was always the one that was quoted. We visited that,
right,
and it turns out that he was only doing fruits and vegetables, and he has this was a few years ago. This may have changed.
Yeah.
He had a private hauler collect the compost and bring it to him, and so that hauler is the one that's kind of on the hook for the enforcement, and if there's any problems, you know what I mean? He doesn't have to worry about
Right.
how
What,
many
from like a legal,
restaurants coming in.
like a legal liability standpoint, or?
No, as far as like what's coming in.
Okay.
You know, because obviously if there's
Contamination.
contamination in there, it's going to affect your end product, and he
Right.
sells his end product.
Gotcha.
And then the market that he had for that end product, and again, this is a few years ago, I
Mhm.
believe it was in Maine. It was a
Mm.
thing, and I think I talked to them, and they're like, you know, Wellfleet's is way too far. There's no, there's no money
Right,
there.
yeah.
So there's a lot to that for sure.
Okay.
there's Dave DeWitt of Truro, who, yeah, he's someone that you might get in touch
Right.
with.
He tried doing the pilot with Max, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that, okay.
He's got a shredder, he takes, cardboard and stuff,
Mhm.
he can handle.
Gotcha, okay.
We were talking with him for Oyster Fest
Yep.
early on last year, about a year ago. And he had applied for his state licensing to be an industrial facility, but it was denied. He had to put a concrete pad in. So he's
Okay.
doing that now and reapplying this year. But we don't know anything about his capacity.
Okay.
And I do know that even for things like, an event where we asked, can you take it? He said, yeah, but I don't collect. So Mike very kindly offered his.
And did you end up doing that this Oyster Fest?
I did not know.
Okay.
No, well, we didn't do compost because, that was one, we didn't have anyone to take it. We didn't have the whole, how do you collect it, where do you store it? Because there's no room
Gotcha.
anywhere to store it.
Right.
So there were too many obstacles. But in any case,
Yeah.
he's trying to get his
Okay.
gets-
licensing so he can at least take churros, I guess, is
Right.
the idea.
And if you can get the pad in and get permitted, that would be
Mhm.
huge. And then you'd have a
Yeah.
pre-existing site.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, I know from even just last year, those concrete pads are not cheap.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
But then that's your pilot program to look
Right.
at for,
Scalability
Yeah.
purposes, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's, if he gets to that point and if he's taking churros
Mhm.
compost, then there's a potential
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
I mean, your site is, you have neighbors, so wasn't that the big deal you said
I mean,
years ago
there's-
when someone?
Yeah,
tried
years
to-
ago
so
there
many
was a
things.
proposal for
Yeah.
an industrial site at Wellfleet in around 2002, I think, but it was rejected by the neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, as it is right now, we kind of have to be careful with our mulch for the harbor.
Mhm.
You try to do that on rainy days and
Mhm.
in the wintertime if we can, because there are days when
Yeah,
our neighbors,
shell pile.
Yeah.
we try to take care of our neighbors as best we can,
Yeah.
being a dump and all,
Yeah. Yeah.
Another thing is for restaurants, they could do what Winslow's Tavern is doing and using these, they have tumblers.
Yeah.
They're on a stand, they're by the Swedish company called Jora. And she says they're insulated, so Christine reached out to her, and they're insulated so they're able to break down the material much faster than, say,
Yeah,
an
about
kind of
6
bin.
weeks or so.
Interesting.
So they
Really?
have
That wait,
3
6
of them
weeks?
now, yeah.
Wow.
And they're adding more.
Mhm.
We forwarded the information
Okay.
to Peter.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting question. Does Sweden have better ways of doing this than we do? I'm sure they do.
I'm sure everyone
They-
in the world does.
Even small,
Well,
even small
I tend to
towns
think
in-
California. What are they doing in California? They seem way ahead of everybody.
Sweden
There
and
is,
California have a lot more
yeah.
open space than Cape Cod does.
So I think that's it. Yeah.
Actually, in Falmouth, there is a Compost With Me site where there's a private composting company called Compost With Me. That they accept things from the Mashpee Public Schools, I think, so,
Huh, okay.
and some restaurants as well.
We
So
visited-
there is a model
Yeah.
on the Cape, and we visited there a couple of years back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's definitely support for it, as you saw with the online petition that
Right.
Peter
it's-
started, and
Was it, I think it was the year, maybe 2 years ago, when we had Chatham Bars and
Oh, yeah.
and Adrian from Kemek come to a meeting, and was it, yeah, I think it was when Elsbeth was seeing what kind of interest there was.
Gotcha.
Chatham Bars has their own farm, so they send their food waste there for
Right,
composting.
right.
but they'd like to expand their farm and not have to give that land up for composting. I think
Right.
that was one of the things he said. But yeah,
But the best person to talk with about, I think, who went the furthest and is the most knowledgeable is Elsbeth.
Okay.
because I think she asked the restaurants what kind of volume they were producing too.
Gotcha.
She probably has
Yeah.
all that. That's
So she's already done a bunch of the legwork
Yes.
that Pete
Yeah.
might be redoing. I
Right.
guess. Okay, that's definitely
Yeah.
helpful.
yeah.
I think going to it from a town, I mean, there's no point in trying to push it through if it's not feasible
Mhm.
at the site.
Right.
Oh,
that we're
yeah,
targeting,
certainly.
so, yeah. So it really starts with the site.
But
Gotcha.
if you do some composting or waste separation at the restaurant, I think you'll get good press. You know.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yep.
And I would even take that a step further too, and I mean, there's no harm in looking into like what the restaurants are producing, because these are all numbers that you're gonna need anyway.
Right, yeah.
And then maybe there'll be some other party interested in doing this,
Yes.
has a site,
I
and
think
we
that-
have those numbers in line.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. We suggested to Peter that maybe he work, there is an estimator online that if
Okay.
you can get volume of meals and how many meals and stuff,
Right,
you know, you
right.
can come up with some tons per week or whatever.
Okay.
Having that kind of information available from a survey would be valuable
Gotcha.
to, you know, try to evaluate opportunities in the future.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that might be an area where he could put his
Efforts.
efforts,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we would love it if it
Absolutely.
comes to be.
There is I'm working on a summit at another organization in Yarmouth, Care for the Cape and Islands. We
Mhm.
got a grant for our first water bottle refill station at Bakersfield from them. They do a summit 2 times a year. So there's a working group there that I'm in on cooperative purchasing for disposables products, non-plastic. And the Yarmouth Chamber of Commerce director there lived in a town, her name is Mary Vibon, and I'll have to call and ask her. She lived in a western town small town, that did commercial pickup, and everybody had some kind of vessels that they only picked up once a week.
Okay.
And there were no odor issues, and they had
Yeah.
somebody who would come and haul it, and then they would compost. And it worked beautifully, but it was a small town. It wasn't a seasonal town, I'm
Right.
guessing.
They're offering that in Newton also. It's a
Okay.
smaller wheeled, it's not a wheeled
Oh,
cart.
okay.
Well, maybe it does have wheels, I can't remember, but it looks like a mini wheeled cart. It's about this big.
Specifically for compost.
Yes.
My
and-
brother lived in Palo Alto for 4 or 5 years, and they do that there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
California is very progressive, but
Yeah.
I mean it's a pretty
And they have-
populated location.
Yes.
It's not a tiny small town, you know.
Right.
So
Yeah, I mean, in Seattle where my daughter
Yeah.
lives, they have, you just fill it up and you get either big one, most
Right.
people have huge for food waste and small for
That's
trash.
Yeah.
good. That's the way to go.
Yep.
All right, well, thanks. I guess
great.
yeah, we're supportive. If there's anything we can do, you're always welcome to come to the public meetings.
Cool.
It's always the first Tuesday of the month.
Can I leave you my email about the beach cleanup?
Yeah,
Yeah. Just write it down.
and you're welcome to stay too if you want to
I
hear
need
some
to get
more.
back to work. But thanks for moving this up on the agenda for me.
Sure.
Not a problem. Thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
Shall we continue with the waste reduction section? Kind of go through that kind of quick.
All set.
Oh, no, your email.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye now.
Enjoy the rest of the meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Sure thing. All right, regional initiatives, plastics, nips, polystyrene, water bottles. That kind of ties in with the town meeting thing, although not the nips part. There is an effort, statewide effort, to have a nips ban, and I think that's still in committee in Boston at the State House. I don't have any word on that. One interesting thing about the notion of putting a deposit on some of these bottles is it's 5 cents, which is not very much. If it were maybe a quarter, then you'd really get some people picking things up. Or a dime is, another, maybe the happy medium there. One other problem with the deposits is each collection point is different. In the state of Maine, they have a universal bottle redemption program. So you can bring like small craft brewing bottles to whatever redemption center and they'll accept it. Here, they'll only accept basically what their distributor provides them in the first place. So it's a real pain for the package stores to deal with this. I think having a universal program would be much better, and we should look at what the main bylaw is and just, I don't think we can't do it Wellfleet, it has to be statewide, but that's something we could, promote and ask our representatives to move forward on.
And there are some towns that have tried banning NIPS bottles too, but it's tied up in the courts, so it's kind of.
And that's Chelsea, the city of Chelsea.
Yeah.
And I think Eastham was considering it, but Sustainable Practices just wrote to say that they've withdrawn that from their bylaw, their warrant article or whatever.
They decided to withdraw that and accepted the Sustainable Practices version of this ban so that it's consistent with other towns. Because theirs was like they were banning also soda bottles and other things, so there would be a lack of consistency regionally.
Yeah, we got a request or some interest, a comment from the Shellfish Constable. I think that she probably sees a lot of nets, all over, just like everybody, and so she was supportive of a deposit on them or a ban.
Anybody that picks up roadside trash knows how many.
Yeah, there's so many. It's
At the general store, I see it all the time. I mean, at the liquor store, rather. People come in and they'll get 4 at a time. And I think the idea is you drink it before you get home because you don't want to show the person you live with that you're drinking as much as you are. So they throw it out the car window, usually before they get to Route 6, from the parking lot there. And so there's lots of... Well, I was thinking...
And then clean their teeth, presumably.
What if you had a receptacle just as you left the parking lot there?
Throw your nips here.
Make sure you drink it before
It's happening anyway.
you can make it a game, like the bell goes off or something. They make a basket.
Yeah. I don't know, it's just a thought.
Yeah, I guess these would be plastic and glass bottles, or are they all plastic?
They're plastic.
They're mostly plastic.
Mostly plastic.
Yeah. Well, something to consider, to keep working on.
Well, we can see how the
The statewide thing
the
goes.
statewide thing goes.
I
That
don't
was
know.
Randy Hunt who put it in. He's retiring this year.
Yeah.
And see how the court case goes with Chelsea about a ban. Of course, the liquor stores who brought a lawsuit against it.
Yeah, they make a lot of money off the net.
Absolutely, yeah.
And they keep the price really low, $1 per thing, I think. All right, so we kind of covered the food waste part. The June 1st, 2020, that's when our balloon reduction bylaw goes into effect. So I think we should do some education on that. Probably there's some good material out there, and maybe there's something through the Mass DEP even on that, or you can look at other towns. Our bylaw includes not just helium balloons, but any kind of balloon.
Party balloons.
Yeah. So maybe the best way is to talk about alternatives to those. And
send a letter to businesses, or?
Yeah, I think so. And maybe party companies and caterers. And
Does Provincetown have that?
they do. They've had a helium balloon ban for a long, long time. And I think they've expanded it, but I'm not sure.
And other towns have had it for, I think I was reading about one town that's had it for like 40 years, so maybe it was P-Town, long time.
Yeah, I think it was the 70s
Yeah.
that they did it.
And Provincetown found out the floating, flaming
Oh, right,
Yes,
right.
paper bags are not a good alternative. a couple weddings that let those go and they didn't ask, you know, and the fire department was
goodness.
freaking.
Oh, really?
That's not good.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
nothing
Said they-
happened.
Yeah,
but,
but,
you know.
yeah.
Are those the sky lanterns, or they?
Yeah, you know, the paper
Yeah.
bag with the little candle
Right,
and it
right, right.
floats over a town full of 200-year-old wooden
Oh,
houses.
yeah.
Throwing trash in the ocean, basically.
Yeah, it either goes into the ocean or
Gets
Yeah.
blown onto a building, I see, oh my gosh. All right, so I'll work on that, I'll see what's
Okay.
out there and have some things for the next meeting.
Great, thank you.
Sure. Refill Wellfleet update, Christine has some,
Yeah, so we have the marina unit was purchased in May of last year, and apparently they've done the plumbing enhancements they need, but by the time they were ready, it was November, so they're waiting until spring to install it on the Harbor Masters building right next to the boat ramp, where the bicycle rack is. And the sponsor, Nauset Disposal, we've been in touch with them about, figuring out what kind of plaque they would like and making arrangements for that in the meantime. The other location and sponsorship from SPAT for Town Hall has been very problematic to move forward.
and plumbing.
Just in
is gonna be
terms of getting
expensive.
estimates on locations. We did get one estimate for location on Town Hall, on the building at the base of the emergency, whatever it's called, escape.
Fire escape.
Fire escape, thank you. But we think, and the installation price was, twice as much as the cost of the unit. And so we asked DPW to look at a possible location for a pedestal size, self-standing, where it could just go down without having to go through a lot of concrete to the water supply. So we're trying to get a meeting this week so that we can get closure on it and get something done for the spring, because it's been over a year that since we've collected that.
The harbor location one, are we talking about any signage telling people it's there? Because that's like a busy little, like walkers, I think, tend to avoid that because, the boat ramp's right there and there's always,
You're right, we should have signage. Good
so
point.
that, somewhere.
you could have maybe there's a sign to fill up at the harbor master's office
Yeah.
with water.
Right. That's a
Right,
good
but put
idea.
it somewhere, because like I said, there's a nice walkway on the
Yeah.
other side of the pier, and that's like a
good
congested
point.
area that people
Yeah.
avoid.
There's just no water over there. But that's a good idea. Also, there is an app called TAP that Sustainable Practices is one of their initiatives around the plastic bottle ban, is to
Okay.
promote it and get
So
locations.
you have it on your phone, it shows you where you
Yes,
can.
and
okay.
also promote it where businesses who say you can come in and fill up your water bottle at our business
Okay.
will get listed. So that's something, if anybody wants to look into that and how to push it and get businesses to sign up.
Yeah,
Okay.
we could ask that it appears on any little maps that are printed, like the Chamber of Commerce
Oh, that's a great
map.
idea, chamber map.
And I don't know what other maps are out there, but maybe the harbor master at the maybe the Shellfish Constable too, because they give recreational shellfish people. I mean,
And maybe
recreational.
maybe even the beach permit.
Right.
Get them back.
Could have,
No, just other towns that have this, is there some type of sign that goes along with these machines, or some type of universal, like a water symbol that you can use? I've found
Probably.
pictures work well,
Yeah,
better than words for sure.
yeah, the
Right.
little water drop.
You know, and then you
That's,
can put those with just an arrow, and it seems to work well for me.
we used some material in when we were getting this going. There's a really good logo from Refill operation in England that had a blue and white. And anyway, we've been
just
using
little
that.
water drops on
Yeah.
it. That's a good
But
idea.
yeah, that's a good
Those
idea.
are all
But
great
it's-
That a
ideas.
town might see from, if it's some type of universal sign.
Yeah, we could get that going for this
That's a great idea, yeah.
season. Okay, let's see, alternatives to plastic aquaculture equipment. That's the Shellfish Advisory Board initiative, and I don't have an update, but I think we should talk to Nancy Chivetta about that and see where they are.
Maybe
Okay.
she could come to one of our meetings.
Okay.
There are some meetings going on, aren't there, with the fishermen about plastic?
Yeah, they meet, I think they meet on Tuesdays, or is it, I'm not sure.
The Shellfish Advisory Board?
Yeah.
Is it something that Gabrielle does? Can't remember. Somebody.
No, I don't think so.
Oh. Well, it's not us. I'm just wondering
Do
who
you
it is.
take
It's Shellfish
Shellfish
Advisory.
Oh, it's Shellfish, right, okay.
Yeah.
They meet on Mondays, and
Mondays,
Dave
okay.
Steiner and Jake Puffer are working on a bioplastics, biodegradable gear.
Uh,
Their next meeting is Monday.
Okay.
So that, you should, in addition, you should be the liaison between
All the meetings,
I am, but nobody ever asked me.
the voice behind the camera.
Yeah, she knows all. Okay, so I think, try and go to those meetings, that would be good. Shellfish Advisory on Mondays.
Here? Are they here?
Actually, is it first?
It's usually the second Monday.
Second
They
Monday.
used to be here, they're trying to do them with the COA if they can get it. If they can't get it, then they're here. This
Mhm.
Monday is the Council on Aging at 6.
Okay, thank you.
Keep all that in your head.
I gotta be back, so.
Then our next thing is alternatives to single-use pill bottles. I have been looking at things online and I came across this image. I'm going to try and get it. This is something new. This is still in development, but this is a pill dispenser that you swallow. It's a asterisk-shaped pill with a medicine on it. It releases over time, so you take one, and then the medicine goes into your system over
Put that
quite
star
a
in
long
your
period
mouth,
of
you mean?
time. What? It's this is what it looks like. It's like a capsule
I see.
that eventually. It's kind of interesting. It's pretty much packaging free, and
Well,
it's
you talked about the packs.
pill pack,
Packs,
that
yeah.
style. Yeah, that's pretty popular. I think it's really changed the game and the
Are
way
those
drugs
tinfoil
are.
or plastic?
Plastic.
Plastic.
Yeah, they could maybe go to wax paper one day, something like
Mm.
that, but right now they're plastic. And I spoke with a pharmacist at the Outer Cape Health Services Pharmacy in Provincetown, and they have not only the single-use amber-colored pill bottles, but also what they call bulk bottles, which are the big bottles they get with all the pills in it that they then dispense. So he's recycling those. He takes them home and puts them in his curbside pickup. So there's people that are, they
And
want
those
to.
are plastic?
Those are plastic.
The big
yeah.
ones.
Yeah, they're, I guess like this.
Oh,
They're
okay, okay.
a white plastic vitamin bottle. They look a bit like that. They're in, they buy those things in bulk. They don't buy them in the tiny bottles. They just count them all out. It seems like there's a desire there to do some recycling. It's still up in the air whether the amber bottles, they're number 5. They have the symbol on the bottom.
Well, you can send them to Gimme 5, but you have to mail them,
Right.
collect and mail them.
Yeah.
Oh, and I think I'm just pulling this up as I've been trying to remember to look this up myself. But it says here the problem is that there's limited resin acceptance on number 5, and then they often find prescription in there. And when you go and use this as a recycled product, it says that you have the problem. They're not supposed to be reused into food containers because the chemicals or medicine or whatever. Now you're
Okay.
eating your yogurt out of a bottle that's been recycled with somebody's pill bottle or
Right.
something like that. I think that's from what I'm just quick
Right.
Google search.
You mean even if they were to reuse the material, they wouldn't make it into food product
I mean,
containers?
this is recyclenation.com, but the
Okay.
problem with recycling prescription bottles is most curbside programs don't accept them. They should not hold food products, lest leftover medication make its way into food. Add to that the difficulty of disposing of leftover painkillers. So now you have these MRFs that have,
Yeah, they
and,
might get
you know,
a
pills
full
in
bottle
them.
of stuff that could be
Yeah.
a problem.
Right.
But the way to get around that is to drop them off. Like right now, the Wellfleet Police Department and Provincetown Police Station, they all do this up and down the Cape.
But what do they do with them?
But I'm
They
sure,
accept the bottle, the whole the medicine bottle with the
And then
pills
just
in
put them
it.
in the trash or what?
I don't know. I
I
mean,
doubt they recycle them.
well,
Well, I
we-
think the
it's
incentive
not-
there to
yeah.
get them is to get the medication as well.
Yes.
That's right. So
Yes,
it's not.
yes, out of the hands.
So that's
Yeah.
all got to be disposed of, and I'm sure they're not
Uh,
dumping each one out.
No, and it's not the police that are doing it anyway. It's all picked up by another entity that's licensed to do this kind of work.
Oh, okay.
And they might recycle the bottles at the other end. You know, it's not, once they've done the
Interesting
medicine.
to find out if anyone runs into something.
Yeah, yeah. I guess the fire station accepts sharps and syringes, and the police station accepts the pill bottles. And the Outer Cape Health does not accept bottles back, but some pharmacies do. I think probably in the city maybe there are places where you can. I've seen pictures of stainless steel kiosks at Walgreens and CVS, but that was probably more in the Boston area than here.
I checked in Orleans and they do not. They say go to the police station.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good. So that covers the waste reduction section. Should we go through number 4 real quick and then we'll do the budget?
Okay.
So Energy and Climate Action Committee Liaison, that's Carol. I didn't see her today. Library of Things, Fix-It Clinic. And how did you think the Fix-It Clinic went?
It was a little slower this year, but, went well.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting when they got this 1920s.
Yeah.
You did that. You got the case cover off of this 1920s sewing machine. It had a little round key thing with no key.
I
So
think
Jed got a little.
that shows a lot. I mean, you can repair something from the 20s, but all those boom boxes that we see.
Right, it's awesome, yeah.
that's junk.
I know when those plastic sewing machines come in, it's risky because they are really hard to put back hard to fix.
There were a lot of people came to the Fix-It clinic just because they thought it was a nice idea. They didn't have anything to fix.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's a nice community activity.
Good. Well, thanks for taking charge of that again this year. Boomerang bags. There's one coming up this Thursday, 2 to 5 here at the library, and that's a Thursday meeting, but mostly they're on Fridays, so that schedule is available through the library. And the Library of Things program, we're going to expand community cutlery to include, the library is offering this as a possibility, and there'll be a meeting coming up next week on that.
Right.
There's grants available through the DEP, and that's something that Carrie just wrote about with us. It's a micro grant, up to $5,000 for programs like that. So that's definitely something the library should look into, or we could apply.
Okay.
Yeah. The Recycle Smart info card, that is in process. That we're printing it through Vistaprint, and we ordered 1,500 for about $150.
That's great.
So we'll have those for
We'll be
you.
flooding the town.
Yeah,
That's a good price.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that was really good job, Lydia.
Thanks. Plastics and producer responsibility. I brought a couple of things here. This is a cheese box from Trader Joe's. It's no plastic. There was plastic covering the cheese, but I thought that was kind of
That's
good.
pretty good.
Oh, very nice.
And I go there, look every so often in the produce department because they're supposed to be reducing their plastic packaging, and it doesn't look so different to me. It looks very much the same.
It's
Yeah.
I think another year before it's getting into the
Yeah.
right one.
Okay, well, hopefully I did notice the mushroom box was actually a paper box with a plastic top. That's good. And then this is available. This is a tomato
Is that
container.
recyclable?
Those
Yeah,
are, that's just,
yeah.
yeah.
This is number 1. And this is, rather than having a hard shell top, it's this. So that's pretty good.
Minor
A little improvement. Yeah.
It's so hard to get away from those clam
Yeah.
shells.
And then I wanted to show this off. This is pencils that are highlighters.
Oh,
Oh, good.
Isn't that fun?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay, let's see. Recycle some Instagram post. That's Chris Wisniewski. That she'll be here probably next month. Zero waste public service announcement. We're super excited that that's almost done. It's called 50 Ways to Reuse Today. And that's, we thank the Wellesley Cultural Council, Massachusetts Cultural Council. Mia Baumgarten filmed it, so that's great. And so that'll
And
be,
where's that gonna show?
it'll show on the local public access channels, 8, 20.
18, 22, 99, and then it'll also be online, so you can send it to people.
Nice.
You
Sure.
can put a link on our website.
Yeah. Okay, that about covers those things, so there's the budget increase, and then we'll do minutes and the correspondence and so on.
Yeah. So, is there anything, Mike, that you wanted to bring up?
Now at the moment, things are running pretty smoothly. I mean, it is winter time still, but yeah, the food waste total was interesting for sure. Our recycling is still very clean, which is great.
Yeah.
Had a problem with that.
That's great.
So yeah, I've got a couple of projects in the works. We're looking at some new equipment, so trying to find a place to put it.
Okay.
But otherwise, no.
I did have a
Those
question.
those cards are great. Those recycling cards are great.
Good. We'll have more for you soon. I had a question about why pay-as-you-throw bags couldn't be compostable rather than plastic resin. I know it's a state contract, but did that ever come up when
Why, what kind of bags?
why pay-as-you-throw bags
Oh.
aren't compostable, or why that isn't an option? Was that something that was ever discussed when pay-as-you-throw came along, or?
I remember them talking about the recycled content of the plastic bags they were using, that there was some recycled content there. But the bagasse, I think that's the material that the compostable bags are made out of. It's a kind of rubbery feeling bag, and I don't know if it's strong enough to hold the weight of a typical garbage, but
I think it would, but our garbage is going to be burned in any case. So, I don't know that.
Well, at the moment, I don't know what's happening to it because
Oh.
New Bedford Waste opened their facility and now it's being baled and shipped, I think, down south. Like Harvey's was doing when we
If
did
it-
Harvey's, so.
it's awful.
If it gets burned, would that recyclable material be releasing less?
Yeah, this
Toxins
is
and
true,
other-
yes.
That's
Yeah.
true.
So to answer your question, I don't know.
Okay.
There's a lot about pay-as-you-throw that I don't know, as it was implemented a year before I got here. So this is one of my goals this year, is to kind of look more.
Yeah.
So the town
data of
has a
that.
contract with someone who manufactures these bags?
Yes, they manufacture, they distribute it, they do all the
And
accounting.
who signs that contract?
It's a statewide contract, so all the
Oh.
pay-as-you-throws go through
Oh,
the
so
same.
Wellfleet has no,
No, it would be something we'd have to like bring to Cary to
Right.
work through mass debt to.
It's usually I believe it's usually the cheapest too, like when you get on the state contract, because you
Yeah.
bid for it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It
no,
just
I've been-
seems like, I just hate using all that plastic.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, our trash didn't really go up. I think it went up 4 tons this year from last year, so not too bad.
That seems like a lot.
4 tons?
Yeah.
Maybe not.
how many tons a
Over
week do you go through?
834. So
Uh-huh.
it was 830 point whatever last year.
Okay.
So yeah, that's not a lot.
And so New Bedford is that who we contract with for waste?
Yeah, and I don't have a lot to do with those contracts at all, but from my understanding is that so New Bedford Waste has always been our trash contract for the last 5 years or whatever it was. And they're the ones that had the problem with the facility.
Right.
And so they were just sending us to the incinerator. But I guess now their facility is up and running. We've sent 2 loads of trash there. But it's my understanding that I think they're bailing it and trucking it somewhere else, just like Harvey's was doing when we visited Harvey's.
But this is waste, not recycling.
Trash. This is
Trash.
recycling is not a part of that contract.
It's,
Oh my
I
God.
hope it's not traveling all the way to the south by train or something.
I
It
honestly
sounds-
don't know.
Yeah.
What's happening to it. But
There's
there's not a lot of
probably
competition in Massachusetts for where to bring your trash anymore.
Right.
just pay as you throw wise, maybe it would be good to have another report. There was one done, closer to the time it was implemented, but see how the program's doing. Okay, would you like me to call Carrie Parcell, because she might have some things to
Well, maybe we should
do the
probably not
budget
interested in
first?
our budget.
I've got to get
Yeah.
going here.
Okay.
One question for you. Do you know, has the amount gone down since pay-as-you-throw? Like,
Yeah, there's a lot of details as to why that is. One of them, the biggest one being that the bylaw, or the regulation, I should say, states that all residential trash should be in pay-as-you-throw bags. So you don't see your haulers.
right, but your volume at the transfer station, do you think it's gone down?
It went down drastically after pay-as-you-throw.
Okay.
Right.
Could
If
be
you
that
look at
summer.
Yeah, if you look at the map of Massachusetts, Wellfleet's got one of the lowest
Okay.
rates.
Right. Depending on where they got that figure from. Like I said,
Yeah,
it's,
from carried.
my trash went down.
Yeah.
That's what I can say.
And recycling.
But you
went
get
up.
some commercial haulers coming to.
Yes, but the way the regulation's written is it's only commercial trash.
Oh.
See what I mean? So it doesn't matter if I start a trash company right now and pick up your trash at your house, it still has to be in a purple bag.
Even the residential
It does
haulers
that.
have to, okay,
Right, so,
okay.
all right, with that, I must get back and.
Okay,
my
thanks for
lunch.
being here today.
Thank
Nice
you
to
very
see you guys,
much.
thank you.
Take care. Oh, quick question. We're starting to order things that were destroyed in the fire.
Yes,
Is there room in your new shed for us to stuff?
I'll find room for that. I did have, found another umbrella holder for you.
Oh,
So there's
excellent.
one thing
Thank you.
down. Yeah, you're
Yep,
welcome.
we're gonna order the umbrella.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
care.
Take care. Okay, so what you're looking at, let's start with just on the RC, or the fiscal year 19 detailed expenses. This is just the detail of what we spent our money on this year and categorized on the left. We still don't have a report from the town because they're in between two accounting systems right now, and it hasn't gotten fully transferred over. And then if you flip the page to the fiscal year 21 budget worksheet. So what we need to do today is come up with a fiscal year 21 budget request, if we would like to increase from what we had last year. And if you look at the far right, there are the expenses by category from the brought over just from the other page, and then the revenue. So we spent, if you look down at the bottom, we brought in $6,380, and we have remaining $3,185 from last year. And $2,000 of that is the SPAT water bottle refill station. Actually, probably more than 1,000 because we.
4,000.
Yeah, we spent 2,000 of it on the Marina one, so at least 2,000 and maybe 3,000. We
Is it
would like to
counted?
target to refill. And then if you look at the next two columns, that's the current fiscal year 20. We don't have a town report yet, but we did increase our town allotment from $100 in fiscal year 19 to $775 in fiscal year 20. So we have.
What are the requirements to track that? If people donated to the refill program,
Uh-huh.
I mean, are we required, like,
There aren't any requirements.
Okay.
But we have been sending them status levels.
yeah, obviously
Yeah.
good faith, you know,
Yes.
but I'm
Yeah.
just asking if we're.
And
okay.
for SPAT, for the town hall, we did send a letter at the end of last year apologizing for the delay.
Yeah.
And explaining what's going on, and one of the responses was, if your costs are looking a lot higher, bring it to the board and see if there's an option of getting more money for them, because they were very interested in single sponsorship.
Okay.
So that's one option, and another option, well, we'll get to that in a second. So anyway, so that's what we had from last year, what we're in the middle of this year. So we also got a $1,000 donation out of the blue.
That's right.
Somebody kept their envelope from the gift fund from last year
Oh,
and sent us $1,000. So for our fiscal year 20 revenue column, we have $2,550. That's what we had coming in this year of new money. We also have the balance from last year, of course. So the question is, looking at how we justified our budget request for that $775 is the details are below. You know, it was for tax insert, recycling cards, other printed material.
There was also the membership dues to the chamber.
Yeah, so those are two little blanks because Lydia sent an update, but they didn't get it or it wasn't included. So we were only approved for the $775. The total that I think you requested was $1,000.
yeah.
Yes. So for the fiscal year 21 budget, I just stuck some numbers in there as talking points for what we want to request. And the first one is community cutlery. given that we want to try to get this library of things off the ground, where the library would be barcoding and you would be checking things out the way you do books, then there are things that we would like to add to our, and I guess the first thing one can do is ask for donations from the community of things that are in good working order and blah, blah, blah. So I just put a number in there, $800. The website fee is an ongoing expense that Lydia has always paid. Meetings and programs, that's just if we, like we had a forum about recycling, we had some little door prizes and, that kind of thing.
And one time we paid, I think, $50 as a kind of honorarium for a speaker here at the library.
Yeah, that's included in that. And then the outreach education, I was thinking rather than specifying membership dues, which to the finance committee, they say, well, why should we pay for your membership dues for the chamber? We can just put a category of outreach and education because we do belong to them so that we can do their email blasts, get things into their newsletter.
When Richard was here, he said he was going to ask them, he thought we should be getting a reduced membership fee as a nonprofit.
We do get that. It's not free. The email blasts aren't free, and I think they do it as a fundraising, just like everyone else.
But someone who's on the board, when I mentioned that, they said you should not have to pay that as a nonprofit. It was Marcia.
Right. That's
Sexton. Yeah.
Richard's wife was the president of the chamber forever.
Okay. Yeah.
And,
We can ask them. I know we've asked in the past, and they said that that's a requirement.
Well, when I can email Marcia. I said, will you email your friends and tell them we shouldn't pay? Next time we need to do one. Anyway, so one of the other things that we might want to consider, as an example, in P-Town, the DPW put in every year for 5 years one new water refill station in town. Our DPW isn't really engaged in that, so I think it's up to us if that's something that we want to look for town funding for. The other thing that we may want to look for town funding for is a new swap shop. It's not in the DPW request for this, for fiscal year 21. And it's occurred to us that maybe we should be the ones that ask for it. I think they've allocated like $62,000 or so, but I don't think they have the motivation that we do. So that's another, and any other ideas that people might have.
So if the money's allocated, does that mean it's, what does that mean?
It doesn't mean that, it means that they think it's going to cost about $62,000,
That's
but they
their
have lots
estimate.
of other capital requests that they'd rather do, like new machines.
Okay.
So you mean that should be added to the fiscal 21 budget?
I'm just saying whether it's a possibility. We're trying to get a meeting with DPW. Mark was out all of last week, so that we're pushing to try to get. We can always go and do a sit-in.
I think it's a good idea to put it on there and then to see what, they could always say, well, not this year. And
Right.
And I thought Mike was motivated about that because he didn't like the current layout.
Right.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want it sitting right in the middle of the parking lot either.
Right.
And he said that that's what I'd asked him for the meeting. He said he thought it was about somewhere around 60,000 to get the library, the bookshed type building.
Yeah.
We could also ask if anybody's interested in number one, visiting and then finding out what it cost. I think it was 50 or 60,000. The Truro swap shop, they have a very nice new one. So maybe visiting that would be a good thing to do. If you're
Is that a
interested.
similar kind of building?
I don't know.
As the
what it
book-
is.
it's a little wooden building. I think
Oh,
it's
is it?
very much like the one they had before. Yeah.
Oh,
Pretty
so
sure,
we
yeah.
should go look at that. Do you want to go?
Yeah.
Are you interested in that?
Yeah.
Okay. Then we can go on a little field trip. See what they've got. Their the recycling committee in Truro is mostly focused on just trying to get volunteers to keep the swap shop open.
Yeah, the Wellfleet swap shop actually has been having trouble this winter. I guess there have been a lot of days where they haven't been able to open the second shift or the first shift or whatever.
And that's one thing that I was thinking, if we had a heated building, that might, I mean, it's not a very
Yeah.
pleasant place to sit in winter. So it's understandable.
So 65 or 60,000 was what they estimated the building would cost.
Well, he said 62. I think we should put in 65, but then we can also, once we meet
But it always
with
turns
them.
out to be more. I mean,
Well,
more than
yeah,
the
I mean, we
estimate.
really have to go talk to them about
Yeah.
it too, before we,
I think the budgets are due to the finance committee like today.
oh, are they?
So
Okay.
maybe
Well, maybe we
next
should
year
just put it
then.
in there since we haven't been able to meet with them yet.
Yeah, why not?
What do people think?
70 then.
I don't, I mean, if it's all coming from the same, I mean, if they're just not motivated to do it, then yeah, let's do it. I mean, it's all coming from the same,
It's all the same coffers, yep.
yeah,
I think they've wanted to do it.
okay,
You know, it just hasn't appeared, and there hasn't been a nudge.
okay.
They did get all of their recycling, the basic recycling plaza is all linear, and
Right.
that was a big change, and that I think is complete now. So,
I think, they have so many pressing needs for
Mhm.
replacing equipment and buying new equipment.
yeah, there might be some grants through the Mass DEP for swap shops. I'm not sure, because that is a
Good
piece of
question.
equipment. It has this definite
Mhm.
purpose, and it keeps a lot of stuff out of the waste stream. So.
Yeah,
And we do get points for having a swap shop in the
Yeah.
Yeah.
recycling dividends program. Well, is there consensus, or who would like to make a motion on that?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
For the swap shop,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, I guess it's the budget, and we can make a motion on the budget overall once we fill it in. So,
Is it 65 for the,
I would say if that's what we think it's going to cost, I would say 70. It's sure to be more than whoever estimated it.
I think 60 sounds a little less alarming. But who cares? You're right.
There's always going to be more expenses than you anticipate.
Yeah, this is true. And we also need a recycling committee storage place. Of
Yeah.
course, if we start doing, well, we may need that anyway, because they don't have any place to store library things here, or not
Well,
a
you
lot of
remember
space.
when this went on, there's a vocal minority, I guess, that wants to save the current swap shop. So
Well, that
maybe,
doesn't mean we
can
can't
use
still
it
save
as a
it.
storage.
Harriet will be down last like a ton of bricks.
Yeah. Well, that's perfectly possible.
Right,
This doesn't preclude that, it just means that it's not going to be the swap shop anymore. It can be for pop-up art installations like what the person who wrote to us wants to do in June.
okay, let's go
Oh,
on
yeah,
to,
Megan, you mean?
Yeah. Okay, so do we want to propose a motion then to approve this with the addition of 70,000 for the swap shop?
well, what's the total for 21, fiscal year 21, 2,065?
Well, if we, that's what, just the sample stuff I put in.
No, we would add to that, wouldn't we? We would add the 70 to that.
So we just adding 70,000,
Yeah.
72,060.
Slip that in.
I want to
A
do
minor
that in my
tweak.
budget at home.
Yeah. I propose that we approve the fiscal year 21 budget of $72,000.65.
Who's seconded?
No, 72,
$1,000.65.
Just add
65.
Right, but not
Dollars, yes, thank you.
$65.
$72,065.
Pick up somebody's awake.
Is there a second?
My second.
Jed. Okay. All in favor? Very good, so that's done.
Okay.
Now we're on to,
Okay, I have January minutes, and I sent these out a while back, and I don't know if anybody read them, read them?
I have no fault with them at all. No.
Okay. So people have had an opportunity to look,
yes.
I don't need to read through them right now?
No.
Because I sent them out, excellent, okay.
is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Yes.
Second?
Suppose we-
I second it.
All in favor?
All right.
Okay, great.
Who proposed, Lonnie?
Jane.
Well, I
Jane.
think we were chirped up.
And-
Okay.
Okay.
Then, annual town report, we submitted that to the town last month, so that'll appear in the little printed book very soon.
Have we sent out the final one to the committee?
I don't know.
You can
Can
email
do
it
that.
out already?
Treasury report, well,
Well, I think we just kind of did the treasury
Yeah.
report. So, under the fiscal year 20, the only expenses so far this year have been the recycling cards, the 1,500, and napkins for the gift basket for the spaghetti dinner fundraiser.
okay. Correspondence-wise, we did get an email from the marina. The staff there would like to recycle, and they asked us about bins.
They're
There's
not part of town recycling. Pick up.
There's a town company that picks up office paper, white office paper. Doesn't go to the transfer station, it's completely separate. You might have seen the big blue bin at town hall, and I don't know how much paper the marina goes through, but they can
Hopefully
do that as
dump it
well.
there.
Yeah. We also just recommended they use the Wellfleet transfer station to bring by office food scraps. They can do that. Mike said it would be okay for town offices. If they want to do food waste composting, they can bring it into the wheeled carts at the dump. So that's nice. Who knows if people will, but they might, especially if they're Wellfleet residents, they might do it. Also shell and clamshell recycling, I don't know if they go through many oysters there, I kind of doubt it. But then we got a question from Suzanne Grout Thomas. She had gotten this picture from a friend. These are little beach baskets. They're the plastic kind of shopping basket that you see at the supermarket. And there's a town that has this set up for people to go pick up beach litter.
Good.
So she was wondering if there were any micro grants available for that kind of program, and there are.
I don't think I'd want
through
to
the-
carry one of those down the ocean beach. Doesn't
They're-
look like the most practical receptacle. But
Yeah,
And then
usually a
how
big
does
bag.
that work if we're trying to go to, zero carry and carry out,
Yeah, that's
Because
true.
people expecting to bring those up the dune and dump them into a receptacle.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yes, it's
Yeah, so you're saying that
doesn't
kind of
go-
goes contrary to
yes,
the
it
idea.
is. It's
Yeah,
not-
it does. I think that people that pick up, you find things to put them in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice for
A
maybe a
bag is
small.
good.
Yeah.
Well, I've never
Large.
heard before about these summertime beach cleanups that this other guy was
Yeah,
at. So
I've
maybe,
heard of them.
if we.
On the ocean side, you mean?
Yeah,
no, I
and
think-
if we start working with people like that, promoting that, then, then these might not be necessary,
Yeah.
for, getting more beach cleanups in.
So where's this one based? Can't tell.
A carry-in, carry-out pilot is something that we've talked about previously, and
Yeah.
if we got Suzanne's ears, that I think would be a much more useful place to put our attention to see if we can get any
Yeah.
kind of pilot project for.
For a pond or a bay beach.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a tough one because the dog walkers and,
Mhm.
people are willing to take it home. That's
yeah. I mean,
It's
maybe like
definitely a good
Howard's
goal.
Landing or, some
Howard's
Indian
Landing.
neck.
Yeah.
There isn't a lot of mess at Powers, actually.
Hmm?
There isn't a lot of mess at Powers. Mayo would be more.
A lot of what?
There isn't a lot of mess at Powers Landing anyway.
No, it's true, there
Yeah.
isn't any. I don't actually even know if they have a receptacle there.
I think
In
there's,
summer, I
there's
think they
just a
do.
bin. There's
Yeah,
just
a bin next to
which
the, yeah.
DPW picks up.
Yeah.
So it's a town landing, so a lot of trucks, vehicles go through there.
Right.
But, yeah. So,
Mayo Beach would be great for a pilot.
what's that?
Mayo Beach would be great.
Mayo
for-
Beach, yeah.
Mhm.
Because everybody sees it too. That's
Carry in, carry out, it's definitely a hard thing to get going. But maybe that's for next time. Another push on that.
Right.
And, well, it's a public beach. It's your beach. Keep it tidy.
Mm-hmm. All right, the next, future concerns. Any
I'm
thoughts
just
on
wondering
that?
what justification there is for putting that photograph of the fried chicken burrito in the show.
Well,
It doesn't have a lot of merit, does it?
it's not really a future concern of ours today.
Well, I said,
I
you
hope it's
were
not
at this
yours.
opening,
I hope
I
it's
saw
not
you.
yours.
We're being
I
taped,
said
my
I love
dear.
it because, like, I think a lot of people don't trust their own taste. They go to a gallery and they say, well, this must be decent art because the gallery brought it in. But this, like a non-juried, open thing, it really forces you to use your own taste. You know, there were
Yeah.
several
I
pieces
happen to
here
like
that I
that
was very
photograph,
impressed
so-
with.
Oh, this is a
And
wonderful
some
show.
that,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes.
Well, let's close our meeting first, then we can discuss the art.
All
So
right,
future
next-
concerns, maybe
Yeah, do you
carry
have
out
one?
pilot?
Yeah.
And,
Then we have the next meeting date, March 3rd is the primary election. So I don't know if that's the greatest day to have a meeting. What about doing it the next one?
I
You
don't
mean have it
think-
on the
I don't think it would be
Wednesday?
a big
Or the
problem,
next
unless
Tuesday?
you're volunteering at the polls or something.
Yeah, well, I'm not doing that, but,
What other people think?
election days, polls are open from, I think, 7 to 8. 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Yeah, I always go in
Does
the
the voice
afternoon.
behind
Or is it 8 a.m. to 7
The
p.m.?
voice behind the camera doesn't think it's a problem.
The
No.
studio is never very congested with voting, it's not like it.
And now we have less volunteers. Are we gonna have the computer voting machine already?
Oh, yeah, there's not
Oh,
gonna be a
yeah.
little bell thing, people missed that.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, so March 3rd is the next meeting, and I think is there a motion to adjourn?
I so moved.
I motion to adjourn.
I second it.
Okay, thanks. All in favor? Adjourning, it's 12:17.
12:07.